Hello and welcome to Outlandish Oddities, where we take a look at the strangest indie games the internet has to offer. I'm Matt Brown and I'll be your host. Today I'll be sharing with you a game near and dear to my heart, the game that started my whole collection, Space Funeral. Space Funeral is a standard RPG Maker game under the hood, but stylistically, it couldn't be more different. Immediately upon opening the game, you're greeted with this masterpiece of a menu screen. Select the correct blood, and you'll be introduced to Space Funeral's chunky, macabre art style in just the first room. Exit and you'll be dropped into Scum Village, where what you saw in the first room is amplified tenfold. The houses are all severed heads. Every visible character makes you go, "What is that?" in the best way possible. Even the tiniest details are deserving of attention. For example, look at this. What is this? A garden? Tiny houses? A murder scene? I don't know, but it sure is cool. This feeling of bewilderment carries on for the rest of the game. Each area in Space Funeral is distinct and memorable, and yet they all fit together perfectly. The coherence of the world is partially owed to the consistency of the art style, but credit is also due to the cast of absurd characters that fit perfectly. Let's start with the main character, Philip. Philip is a bald, pajama-clad boy who is always crying and flailing his arms as he walks. Down the line, Philip teams up with Leghorse. You guessed it, he's a horse made of human legs. He's as pompous as can be and seems to think you're his sidekick. For more of his story, you'll have to play through yourself. As the game goes on, you meet and fight many other zany characters that I just can't fit into one review. They're all written perfectly. That brings me to Space Funeral's overall writing and story. The basic plot is Philip wakes up in a coffin in the land of Space Funeral. The Wizard of Scum Village tells Philip he is already doomed because the world has been corrupted. He refers Philip to another wizard, Wizard Grum, who lives in the Blood Cavern. The rest of the game is one long adventure through places like the Bone Swamp, the City of Malice, and the Blood Cavern to restore the world to its previous state before all was corrupted. Along the way, you meet all of the aforementioned characters and experience Space Funeral's absurdist writing and dark but campy humor. Take a look at what happens when I enter this normal house. Wonderful moments like this one are generously sprinkled throughout Space Funeral, keeping you laughing the whole way through. This amazingly fresh writing, coupled with the beautifully disgusting visuals, wouldn't quite be complete without the soundtrack to back it up. Fortunately, Space Funeral has that covered. Fitting in with the rest of the game, the music is strange and goofy, but somehow atmospheric. Take a listen to Scum Village's theme, White Walking. Each song fits its situation just as well as this. Each of these points makes up for the game's only weak point, which is the gameplay. It's basic RPG stuff, but with one major flaw: the combat. The combat is in real time instead of being turn-based. This means you're pretty much constantly button mashing to make sure you're not wasting any time while the enemies are recharging their attacks. The end result is taking a lot of the strategy out of the combat and making it more of a chore than anything. There are a couple of saving graces though. While tedious, the fights are all very easy, so they don't often take long. Additionally, there's the mystery command, which causes a random event to happen during battle. While the effects can be good or bad, they're well written and help to break up the monotony, so it's always worth pressing. This review would be incomplete without mentioning the artistic point of Space Funeral, using an overdone base of a storyline to create an experience like no other. Both in purpose and in story, it calls out the plethora of bland, uninspired RPGs, referring to itself as corrupted from a perfect world. The perfect world being referred to is the style almost every RPG goes for. Games with nothing inherently wrong with them, but absolutely nothing to be said for them. Space Funeral isn't perfect by choice, and that paradoxically makes it a better experience than any of these perfect games. Overall, Space Funeral is a game I'd recommend to anyone with a strong stomach and a sense of humor. It's free to download, and has many fan-made sequels if you want more. Thanks to the Catamites for bringing this masterpiece into the world. Have a strange indie game you want me to review? Tweet me at ZTV Goofing Off with the hashtag Outlandish Oddities. Until next time, I'm Matt Brown, and this has been Outlandish Oddities.